So how the media influences public opinion and advocates for change. There's three ways in which the media influences public opinion. There's an interventionist role, and our next two slides will discuss interventionist journalism. We'll get into that a little bit more. Role orientation and education versus watchdog. So journalists are more likely to embrace an interventionist role when they are more strongly motivated by certain value types, for example, power, achievement, and tradition. There's role orientation, which is where a particular set of ideas that by which journalists legitimate their role in society and render their work meaningful. And then education versus watchdog, or the watchdog approach is not as objective, mutual, or informative. And so what we want to do is focus on the educational style of journalism. So getting into interventionist journalism a little bit, this is where the journalist or the media outlet participates, intervenes, gets involved, and promotes change. And this happens in a few ways. They put issues on the political agenda. They influence the way the public thinks about an issue. They advocate for values and ideas to transform society. And this is more likely to occur in private media outlets rather than in public or state-owned media outlets. So what determines interventionist journalism? So let's just clarify for a minute. A determinant is a factor which affects and or leads to the outcome. So determinants of interventionism, we can understand this in terms of a hierarchical structure on the influences on journalism. Individual is where the individual journalist is the center of the reporting and the issue, and this is individual interventionism reflects the characteristics, values, and beliefs of the specific journalist. Media routines includes journalistic practices and how that influences interventionist journalism. Organization, the goals, roles, structure, and control of the actual media outlet or organization. Extra media includes information, revenue sources, social institutions, economic environment, and technology that affects interventionism. And then ideological is the broader systems level action that will that intervenes in journalism. Restricted political freedom also motivates journalists. And political parallelism is interesting. This is where the kind of political agenda of the news media outlet, where there's a conflict of interest between that and the actual issue at hand. And so that we can understand where the journalist would need to tread lightly if there's a conflict of interest between the issue and the news media outlet or organization that he or she is representing. So agenda setting of the news media, the priorities of the media strongly influence the priorities of the public. They should focus on public issues, like we've been saying, cults are a public health and safety issue. And the literature does support that correlation between the priority of the media and the priorities of the public is steady at 0.50 or better. So how does the media set the agenda? Well, they do this in a few ways. One is to focus on public attention and get the public to focus their attention on the object or the issue. They do this by offering the public understanding and perspective of the topic. They identify the object or the public issue. They identify the attributes or characteristics and traits of the object, and then they frame the issue. So right here we're talking about, are they framing the issue in terms of sensationalism or in terms of a public health and safety issue? And the way that the media frames the issue is what's going to determine the relevance. So determining relevance. Basically, the media primes the public and creates a tone which motivates the public relevance, which then in turn influences observable behavior or action in response to the issue, which then influences changes in the larger system. So it's difficult for the public to determine relevance if they do not fully understand the attributes of the object. So we want to do this and achieve this by education, not sensationalism. And also the degree to which the audience determines the object to be relevant is a result of the media's priming the public opinion and providing subsequent tonal messages which influence observable behavior or action in response to the issue and affects things on a systems level. So for example, affecting laws, social expectations or consequences, and some of the actions that we can take, for example, are reporting and controlling abuse, and that's pretty prevalent in cults. So we want to support the media. The media cannot pay attention to everything. So what is our responsibility here? Our responsibility is to continue to advocate, provide education in our respective systems, whether we are in a clinical setting or an academic setting, a professional setting. We want to continue to educate others. We want to contribute to the literature. We want to report facts and information when we have them. And we also want to make sure that we get involved and stay involved. And these are my references. So thank you so much. I know this was a short presentation, but it's just a little introduction to perhaps understanding where the media can make a bigger difference in keeping the public safe when it comes to cults and coercive groups. We'll take some questions now if you have them. Thank you.